Ladies and gentlemen, members of the opposition, fellow members of the proposition, so I'm here to propose the motion that I, as an activist, would not run for public office. And so, first of all, I'd like to rebut a few points that the opposition here has made, and I will also tie in further rebuttals. So we hear that, well, you can't just do window shopping. Okay, look at the NRA in the USA. Look at big oil. They're not elected. Would you say they're window shopping? Because to me it really looks like they're buying stuff based on recent legislation. So we also hear that we also hear this idea that, well, if you get elected, that legitimizes your movement. Yes, true, in a way. But if you fail at getting elected, if say you run a poor campaign because you've never done this before, you happen to have a bad cycle. Well, guess what? Tough luck. Your movement is now delegitimized. No, thank you, not right now. And then, even if you do end up getting elected, this idea that you get this big platform for which you can speak to people, it doesn't really work that way. Because once you become a politician, people are going to be cynical towards you. They're going to ask, why are you saying this? Are you saying this to secure re-election? Do you really mean this? What are you going to trade this for? What are your priorities? And so on and so forth. Yes?
Are people also negative towards activists and social movements?
Actually, activists don't have to play that kind of game that politicians have to do. They don't have to trade their votes and so on in different issues. They don't have a party whip to obey, etc., etc. So no. So then we have this. Now, on to my first point. I'm going to focus on the effect that running for public office and being in public office has on people's private and family life if you go as an activist. You see, we mentioned here, well, if you're going to be a lobbyist, you might as well be in office. But here's the thing. If you're the lobbyist, you're the one manipulating. If you're the one in office, you're the one being manipulated. And sometimes without you even knowing. You see, okay, consider the case here, Bertie Ahern. Probably the worst T-Sack Ireland's ever had. Or one of the worst anyway. Do you think when he was 8 years old, running around in, what was it, Offaly? Carlo? Whatever. Do you think that he, as a pudgy little boy, dreamt of ruining Ireland's economy? No. He got into office and, well, he became the monster that he had first set out to fight, of course. And the thing is that the kind of effect that this would have, the kind of effect that this would have, this is basically the abyss staring back at you. When you and then you have the effect, not only the fact that this can change you, and it can change you without you knowing, and you may not realize it until you're out of politics how much you really changed. And then there's the fact that your private life gets affected. Suddenly you have to be careful. You have to be careful what websites you visit. You have to be careful whom you're adding on Facebook. You have to be careful what tweets you retweet, and so on and so forth. Because anything can become a scandal. And once you're in office, if it becomes a scandal, it's not just a problem for you, it's a problem for your entire movement. So, case in point, we mentioned Bernie Sanders as a case, a famous activist running for office, and that was supposedly meant to be a successful example. Yes, supposedly he did reach some success, I'll grant you that. But suppose tomorrow that there were to be some sex tape of Bernie Sanders cheating on his wife, or whatever. Would that hurt Bernie Sanders only, or would it take down his entire movement? I can tell you that would be a blow for the entire left-wing movement, because he is so associated with it, because he's their candidate. So then it also has an effect on your family, of course. So, and this is twofold. Of course, the first thing is you can't spend as much time with your family because you're running around the country, you're commuting, yes?
Would you not say activists already spend all of their time, all of their living hours working on this, and their family are neglected anyway, and the fact they move into public office would make no difference to the hours they dedicate to their work?
The thing, though, is that if you're an activist, if you feel you're starting to get burned out, you need a break, whatever, you have that flexibility that you don't really have in office. There are lots of politicians who get burned out, but there's no such thing. You can't get diagnosed with that unless you want to resign your office, in which case your career is over. And also not all activists are full-time activists. That's another important point. And then there's the factor that if, say, you have a family member who gets an important high-up job at an agency, people are going to wonder if you as a politician is the reason they got that job. And they may, even their colleagues may suspect, well, he only got this job because he's related to so-and-so. That may not even be true, but that doesn't really matter. And also your family members may start expecting these kinds of favors, which can of course cause disputes that can leave lasting wounds for several years. So then there's the fact that the opposition seems to completely ignore that we have a new media landscape. Social media and alt media have meant that you can have a lot of influence as an activist, much more than you could even 10 or 20 years ago. Because it gives a platform to people. And I'm not saying this is only a good thing, it certainly isn't. But it gives a platform to people even without them having an office. I mean, who do you think has the most impact? A random congressman or Rush Limbaugh. And I despise Rush Limbaugh, but you can't deny he's influential. That being said, if Rush Limbaugh were to run for office, all the scandals that his that his listeners don't really care about, such as, the fact that he's an OxyContin addict, not to mention a Viagra addict, not to mention a serial adulterer, etc., would get dragged up and would drag down his cause. But as long as he's an activist, that doesn't really matter. Even if your flaws are much smaller than Rush Limbaugh, even if you've never done Oxy, for example, but even if you are, they will get dragged up if you run for office. And just in terms of the risk-benefit analysis, it simply isn't worth it anymore, because the power now lies mainly within the new media. Again, it's not necessarily. You're out of time. It's not necessarily a good thing only, but it is the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, running for office and holding office is a nightmare for your private life, for your family life. It can corrupt you to a person you do not wish to be, and you can get more influence anyway outside of it. And with that, I beg you to propose. Thank you.